King David says in verse 14 that he personally prepared 100,000 talents of gold and 1,000,000 talents of silver for the temple. If you do the math, that's roughly 3,750 metric tons of gold, almost one half of the entire gold reserves of the United States today. Could that be true? King David, once a humble shepherd tending his flock among the rugged hills, had risen to become Israel's beloved king. Through courage and faith, he finally brought peace and unity to his nation after years of turmoil. Grateful to God for his blessings, David noticed a troubling contrast. He lived in a grand palace of cedar and stone, while the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred symbol of God's presence among the people, still rested in a simple tent. Moved by deep devotion and a desire to honor God, David dreamed of building a magnificent temple, a permanent home for the Ark, where all Israel could gather to worship together. He eagerly shared this heartfelt vision with the prophet Nathan, who at first encouraged David's noble plan. But God soon revealed a different purpose. David would not be the one to build the temple, despite his good intentions. David, a man whose life was marked by battles and victories, was not chosen for this sacred task. The temple would stand as a symbol of peace, not war. Instead, God gave David a greater promise, an enduring dynasty. His own son would rise to build the temple David had only dreamed of. This son, Solomon, whose very name means peace, would reign during a time of rest and prosperity, and he would construct God's house for all to see. Though David felt disappointment, his sorrow soon turned to hope for the future and for his family. His legacy would not be the stones of a building, but a son who would fulfill what he could not, carrying forward his vision. David accepted God's plan with humility and grace, shifting his focus to preparing Solomon for the great task ahead, sharing wisdom and guidance. He embraced his new role as the preparer, not the builder, gathering resources and making plans so his son could succeed. The promise of a lasting kingdom transformed David's personal dream into a vision that would inspire and bless generations yet to come. Embracing his new role, David poured his energy into preparing for the temple. He gathered vast resources, iron, bronze, cedar, and stone, using his influence and wealth. David's preparations were acts of faith and worship, investing in a promise he would never see fulfilled. He conscripted skilled workers and planned every detail, ensuring Solomon would have everything needed. This was more than logistics. It was a father's love and vision for God's house. David's actions laid both the physical and spiritual groundwork for the next generation. By preparing so thoroughly, he passed on his passion and faith. The dream of a house for God would live on through Solomon. With preparations complete, David called Solomon and gave him a solemn charge. He recounted his own desire to build the temple and God's promise that Solomon was chosen for this sacred task. David urged Solomon to be strong, courageous, and faithful, reminding him that true success depended on obedience to God. He presented the amassed resources, showing Solomon he was not alone. David's encouragement was both practical and spiritual: lead with faith and build with devotion. The temple's true foundation would be hearts devoted to God, not just stone and gold. David's final advice: follow God's commands above all. This was a father's greatest legacy, a call to faithfulness and leadership. The story of David and Solomon is more than just a tale from ancient history. It points forward to a greater reality fulfilled in Jesus Christ, the promised Messiah. David's dream of building a house for God and Solomon's magnificent temple foreshadowed the arrival of the true Son of David, Jesus, the Prince of Peace, who would bring God's presence to all people. While Solomon constructed a physical temple of stone and gold, Jesus builds a spiritual house, the church, made of living stones, which are the hearts and lives of believers joined together in faith. Just as David lovingly prepared everything for his son Solomon to build the temple, God the Father prepared the way for his Son, Jesus, to accomplish his redemptive work for humanity. Through his sacrifice on the cross, Jesus brings eternal peace, reconciling humanity to God and opening the way for all to become part of God's family. The true temple is not a building of stone, but a worldwide family of believers, united across nations and generations by faith in Christ. David's vision finds its ultimate fulfillment in Christ, who builds an everlasting house for God, a spiritual home that will never fade away. The true legacy is not found in stone or monuments, but in a people united in faith and love by the true King, Jesus, who reigns forever. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.